Chris Jones with eMergers and Acquisitions Private Equity, as well as Astra Realty. In eMergers and Acquisitions Private Equity, that's where we do a lot of mergers and acquisitions or business acquisitions. And on the Astra Realty side, I focus more on commercial real estate because sometimes when a business is being sold, it might have assets like commercial real estate, whether to be sold or to be leased. So that's how those two companies kind of go hand in hand that I work with. Today we're here to talk about, should you use an LOI, a letter of intent, or move straight to a purchase agreement or lease agreement? That really depends on you. What is your risk appetite, as well as what is the market doing? Are there a lot of people or entities that are interested in a business that's for sale or in a commercial property that's for sale or for lease? It kind of depends on you. You drive it, but hopefully you have really great representation, whether it's a real estate broker or a business broker or an attorney helping you, or all of the above. Because you definitely, when you work with a business acquisition or commercial real estate lease or purchase, you're going to need a number of people to help you out. Well, while we're talking about the differences between an LOI or a purchase agreement, there are some big differences, and sometimes you just need to decide how you would like to proceed. Do you want to start with a lower risk, or do you want to just move forward to your all in? It's legally binding and you're running off into the races. So typically with a letter of intent, this is traditionally a non-binding letter to go to, let's say maybe it's the property owner or landlord, or it's the business owner, and you're just kind of setting the stage, letting them know you're interested, and you're kind of laying out some basic terms as opposed to a purchase agreement or even a lease agreement. This is going to be legally binding, be considered more final, enforceable terms. There could be breach involved. So you definitely want to know, do you want to just try to see if they're interested in what you're wanting to buy and how you're wanting to buy it, or how you're wanting to lease it? So for example, when we work with a letter of intent, it's mainly like my clients saying, hey, I'm interested in this business, or I'm interested in this property. This is what I would like you to say to them for me. It would be something like this. My client has asked me to approach you with their intent to either lease or purchase a business or commercial real estate. We put in the location, we put in the broker's name, their address, all that good stuff. And then we get down to like, what is the premises? You know, along with the address, what is the square footage? A survey available? Is there maybe a floor plan available? Because you might want all the space or some of the space. We don't know. That's all kind of being discussed here in the letter of intent. We'll also talk about a due diligence period, a feasibility period, and that might be a number of days. Could be 10 days, could be 15 days, could be 45 days. It just really depends on the intensity of the proposal and the transaction that's being talked about here. Also might talk about earnest money. May also talk about independent consideration, purchase price, funds to close. How much cash are you putting down? How much are you getting financed? Or is it all cash? A side note, if you're getting financing from whether it's a bank, a credit union, a HELOC loan from a relative or whatever, have your proof showing that you have funds to close. Also have like the title company, or maybe you're going through an attorney's office and they're doing the title work on it, they're doing the escrow on it, they're doing the closing on it. So just have that in there so everybody knows kind of, you know, how this would transpire. Also have the closing date, or it might be sometimes you'll have a transaction where it might be 15 days after the due diligence period. It might not just be a specific date. Or if you have a new construction, sometimes that might have some variance when the closing is, and so that would need to be specified. But usually that's more in the lease agreement or the purchase agreement. So Just another side note. There might be also some contingencies. Are they the financing? Is it an inspection? It could be a number of things. If you are buying a commercial property that has income potential, let's say there are tenants in place. Those tenants have a lease agreement with the owner/landlord. You might want to get estoppel certificates just to match up that whatever the seller or owner landlord says the leases are that you might have a copy of. You might also want the tenant to have a document that they fill out stating what they believe their lease is as well. So you can kind of marry the two and make sure they both line up. So there are no extra surprises at the end of the day. Might also be interested in having signage. Well, depending on where the property is located, whether it's in the city proper or in the ETJ or extraterritorial jurisdiction, which we have here in Texas, you might be working with the city, you might be working with the county. So you need to make sure, if you can have signage there. There might be also not only the city to deal with, but the owner, landlord, also other tenants that are there, depending on what's there. You might also have a property owners association or a homeowners association that also dictates, a few rules and regulations and bylaws and so forth, that you might have to get clearance with as well. So you might want to make sure that, if signage is wanting, that you're kind of covering all your bases there. Title policy and survey. If you're buying this property, you might want to, just make sure that everybody knows who's paying for the title policy, who's paying for the survey. Is a new survey needed? Is the existing one acceptable? And then again, your attorney or title company, will let you know if a new survey is needed or if the one that's existing is acceptable. You might also, describe the type of deed that you'll be wanting if this is a purchase indeed. Is it a special warranty deed? Is it something else? There might be other brokers involved who might have broker compensation fees. This is also a place where you would identify the brokers that are involved, whether it's a business broker or a real estate broker, and kind of what that looks like so that people know going into it who's going to pay for what as well. If there's a tenant in there and the tenant is intending on moving out, or maybe it's the owner who has a company that they own, they're leasing that property to themselves, so they then are the current tenant, and they have said they're going to move out, so you kind of want that date in there too, or if it's just an unrelated tenant. The use of the space. Let's say you're going to be using it for light manufacturing, or you're going to be having a dental office. You definitely can put that in there so everybody kind of knows what the use of the space is going to be. And sometimes you have other properties you're considering, so you can put an offer expiration on this as well. Hey, I'm presenting this letter of intent to you. It's good for 3 days and expires, let's say 3 days from now at 5:00 p.m. The person who's presenting the offer will usually sign it, date it, send it over, along with their information that shows that, yes, they're a vetted buyer. Here's where my cash is being sourced from, or the funds to purchase or lease the business and or property is being sourced from. So the receiving party can look at this information and they can decide, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like any of it, I love all of it. You just never know. So this is just a non-binding kind of summary of what you're wanting to put forward. It's just it's low risk, it's low cost, and you just kind of get the discussions going. Once the parties have agreed to said terms, usually the next step would be moving towards a purchase agreement. Again, it could be called other things depending on the form you're using, or you're working towards a lease agreement. And so when you get to this point, this is legally binding, and there's a timeline that you need to stick closely to, because you don't want to be in breach of the agreement or contract. And usually this is signed by all parties. When it's signed, it's effective. It might go to the attorney's office to start escrow. It could go to the title company to start escrow there. They research title. They do UCC searches. They look at the survey, see if the survey is acceptable. Then you'll have title commitment, title policy later. they'll give you information about closing dates, closing times. You can set your appointment, further review if there are any extra amendments that need to be made. That's the kind of time to do it. Things happen. Sometimes you have to stay a little fluid. Sometimes people are just real concrete. But usually also spell out the due diligence period. Whether you have this for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 15 days, it could be any number of days depending on the complexity of the transaction and depending on how many parties need to be involved, whether it's a new build or it's a business that has 100 employees and you've got to go through a lot of documentation, a lot of service contracts, employee contracts. You just sometimes need to build in a little buffer just to make sure that you're covering all the bases that you need to cover. And also looking at warranties, inspections, whether it's the roof, whether it's the elevator. It could be a number of things. So this is kind of like the final stage, and you're heading towards closing. If anything comes up, there are times to cure certain issues that you might have, depending on the parties. That's further talks. But this is a really high level commitment, and it could be a little more costly to go down this road. You might have to have an attorney draft the document, or you might use a promulgated form that your broker, whether it's a business broker or a real estate broker, has. But working with an LOI, it definitely helps to speed up negotiations, and then once those happen, then you can replace the LOI with more final documentation. So, you also might have to discuss non-competes, non-disclosure agreements, that might be triggered by some of the information that is present. Some businesses don't want the public to know that the business is for sale or the real estate. So there's certain things that you do need to be mindful of when you're working with your clients. But definitely, starting with an LOI saves time, legal fees. You're able to discuss the deal viability earlier. You build trust, momentum, and then you can, if you're an owner of a business or property, you can protect a little bit more of that sensitive information with some built-in comfort with an LOI. But once you dive in and you get started, the journey begins. And I always say, just be patient with the process, because it is a process. Be patient with all the people or the entities involved, and just expect that there could be delays. Expect that there could be issues that you need to work together on to make the transaction happen. So nothing is always 100% risk-free or 100% on track. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But all parties, they definitely need to work together. Pace yourself, be patient, be optimistic, but always do your own due diligence. Don't rely on anybody's word or investigation. If you are looking to purchase a business or buy or lease commercial real estate, please reach out to me. I would enjoy talking further with you and representing you during the process. So, as one of my mottos, everybody does business differently, and why trust your business in real estate with just anyone?